In this lecture, we're going to see how we can overload our plus plus operator in prefix mode as a non-member function. And what we want to do is the same thing we have done in the last lecture, but the implementation is going to change a little bit because the implementation is not going to be a member function. And the trick to do that is really simple. We declare the function on the outside as a freestanding non-member global function. In this case, we have made it inline, but if you want, you can put it in the CPP file and have the linker pick it up if you happen to use this in your C++ program. So we're going to specify the return type. We're going to say the name for the operator. That's going to be operator plus plus. And then our operand is going to be specified as a parameter to the function. Because we want to be modifying this operand, we're going to pass it by non-const reference, and we're going to do our modification inside. And it is not a member function now, so it needs access to the member variables. We're going to mark it as a friend, and this is going to work really well. Now that you know this, we're going to head over to Visual Studio Code and play with this a little more. Okay, so here we are in our working folder. The current project is Unary Prefix Increment Operator as non-member. We are going to do this as a freestanding non-member global function. We're going to grab the code from the last lecture and use that as a starting point. So we can copy all these things here, and we're going to bring them in the current project. And then we're going to open this in Visual Studio Code by dragging and dropping here. This is going to give us the code in the main function. We're not going to be changing this code in any way, but we're going to change how this operator is implemented behind the scenes. So let's comment this out and bring this in. We're going to say plus plus p1, and then we're going to head over to our point class. We're going to go in the header, and we're going to take out the operator we had, and we're going to do this as a non-member freestanding global function. And the syntax to do that, we're going to put this on the outside, but know that you can also do this in the CPP file. That's going to work as well. We are going to say inline because we don't want to offend the one definition rule. And the return type is going to be void. We're going to say operator plus plus. That's what we want to do here. And we're going to pass our operand by non-const reference here. We don't want this const because we're going to be modifying our object here in the body of this function. So we're going to put in the body, and we're going to increment each member variable of this object here. So we're going to say plus plus operand, and we're going to say mx. We want to increment that. We're going to say plus plus operand my, and because this is no longer a member function, it's not going to have access to the member variables directly. And to give it access, we need to mark it as a friend. So we're going to grab that and put that in our friend list. So let's do this. We're going to put that here. And if we go down, we should see that the squiggly line have disappeared. And if we hop over to the main CPP file, we're going to see that code is going to work now. We can build, and the build is going to be good, and we can clear and bring up a PowerShell window that we can use to play with us. We're going to run Rooster, and we're going to see that it's going to work exactly as we expect. This is really cool. So if you want, you can implement this as a freestanding non-member global function, and the syntax to do that is what you see here. Another thing I should point out is that now the compiler is not going to do the syntax we have done in the last lecture. What the compiler is going to do is call our non-member freestanding global function. So this is not going to work because this is no longer a member function. So what the compiler is going to do, it's going to see the syntax here on line 9, and it's going to look around for a candidate function that could satisfy what we do here. It's going to look and see that we don't have any member function that does that. It's going to look in the global scope, and it is going to find our function here, and it is going to pick it up and use it. And it is going to look in the global scope, it is going to find our function here, and it is going to use it and do our incrementation. So what the compiler is going to do behind the scenes is say operator plus plus, it's not operator delete, and it's going to do operator plus plus, and it is going to pass p1 here. This is what it is going to do behind the scenes, and this is going to work. So we're going to build this. And the build is good, we can clear, and run rooster, and this is going to be what we expect here. Is it is going to go from 10, 11 all the way to 31. This is what we expect. Before we wrap up this lecture, I want you to also clearly see that we can do this in the CPP file. So for example, we can comment out what we have here and grab the entire implementation itself and put that in the CPP file. And this is going to work, but we don't have to make this inline because it is no longer in the header file. The inline keyword here is going to constrain this implementation to this translation unit, and it is not going to be visible from other translation units. We have seen this in a previous chapter, and you should remember that. But now this is done in the implementation file, so the compiler is going to pick the declaration from the point header, and the declaration is going to be what we have in the friend list here. So the compiler is going to pick it up when it says this operator, and when we hit the link stage, the linker is going to find this implementation we have here, and it is going to use it, and this is really cool. So you should know this as well. We're going to build and see that this is going to work. The build is good. We could clear and run rooster, and this is going to be exactly what we expect. We're going to go from 10 all the way to 31, and this is really cool. This is really all I had to share in this lecture. I hope you found it interesting. We are going to stop here in this one. In the next one, we're going to see how we can do the postfix increment operator, because what we have been doing so far is the prefix increment operator. We did the incrementation in front of the object. In the next lecture, we're going to see how we can do something like P1++, and that's going to grab the value we have first and increment last, and that's going to be really cool. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me in the next lecture.